My wife thinks I'm 300 miles away, fast asleep in a high-rise hotel room in downtown Chicago. She has no idea that I'm currently curled up in a fetal position in the trunk of her own luxury SUV, breathing in the scent of her expensive leather seats mixed with the metallic tang of fear. I am watching her right now through the narrow dark gap where the back seat doesn't quite meet the chassis. She just pulled into the gravel lot of a decrepit hourly rate motel on the edge of town, a place where people go when they don't want to be seen, and the man walking toward her car, flashing a smug proprietary grin, is not her yoga instructor as she claimed. He's holding a sweating bottle of champagne in one hand and a room key in the other. My heart is hammering against my ribs so brutally that I'm genuinely terrified they'll hear it through the frame of the car. But I'm not moving. I'm not making a sound. Not yet. I am going to bear witness. I need to see exactly how cheap her loyalty really was. I need to watch the whole ugly truth unfold before I burn their world down. Let's back up 12 agonizing hours so you understand how I ended up in this dark, humiliating space. My name is Mark, and I've been married to Sarah for 6 years. We were that couple, the envied ones, the ones everyone thought had it all figured out. But looking back now, our marriage wasn't a partnership, it was a high-end performance. In the last 6 months, Sarah became a polished ghost. She was present in the house, but her mind was always elsewhere. Suddenly, there were mandatory client dinners 4 nights a week. Then came the lock on her phone, which she suddenly started carrying face down even when she went to the bathroom. The final straw, the glitch in her matrix, was a simple piece of paper. I was taking out the trash and found a crumpled receipt from a high-end jewelry boutique, a diamond tennis bracelet, $5,000. I checked our joint bank accounts. No record of the purchase. I checked her wrist, her jewelry box, everywhere. Nothing. It was a secret. Either she was buying herself expensive jewelry with a hidden account, or someone else was treating her like a queen while I was being treated like a roommate. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I went cold. I needed proof. I told her I had an emergency, last-minute conference in Chicago that I absolutely couldn't avoid. I even made a show of packing my suitcase, complaining about the flight, and asking her to check my tie. I kissed her cold, indifferent lips goodbye and drove away. I didn't go to the airport. I drove around the block and parked my rental car in the next street. I waited, watching my house on our security camera feed, until I saw her leave for her evening shift at the office. As soon as her taillights disappeared, I used my spare key to sneak back into the garage. I left my suitcase, my dignity, and my common sense at the door, and I climbed into the trunk of her car. I was equipped with a portable charger, a bottle of water, a roll of duct tape I didn't have a plan for yet, and a burning primal need to know the truth. The drive that followed was 40 minutes of the most excruciating psychological torture I have ever experienced. Every time she hit a pothole, my head cracked against the metal roof of the trunk. Every sharp turn sent me sliding across the plastic lining. But the physical pain was nothing compared to what I was hearing. She was singing along to the radio. She sounded happy, carefree. She was singing the songs she used to say were our songs back when we were first in love. It made me want to vomit. Then her phone rang and the sound echoed through the car's Bluetooth system. "Hey baby," she whispered, that tone. It was a low, intimate vibrato she hadn't used with me in over 2 years. Hearing her say it to someone else felt like a physical assault. The voice on the other end responded deep and confident. "Are you almost here? I'm getting impatient." "I'm turning onto the highway now," she replied, her voice practically giddy. "Did you get the room? Perfect. No, don't worry about dinner. I have that red lingerie you liked, the stuff with the straps. I can't wait to see your face when I put it on." My blood didn't just turn to ice. It felt like acid circulating through my veins. She wasn't just having an affair. She was planning a performance. She was giving this stranger the parts of herself that I had been begging for, parts I thought were dead and gone. When the SUV finally slowed down and the tires crunched on gravel, I knew we had arrived. I heard her engine cut out. I heard the car door opening, the heavy thud of it closing, and then her heels clicking away across the pavement. I waited. 60 seconds. That's all I could manage. My pulse was a roaring, deafening sound in my ears. I pulled the emergency release tab inside the trunk and crawled out. I staggered to my feet, my legs cramped and trembling, looking like a maniac who had just escaped from a mental institution. I scanned the area and saw her. She was walking straight into room 214 of the Starlight Motel, a place where the neon sign was mostly broken and the curtains looked like they hadn't been washed since the 80s. She was clutching a small overnight bag, the same bag she used when we visited her parents. The level of deception was sickening. I didn't just storm the room. I'm a surgical man, not a sledgehammer. I walked into the motel lobby. It smelled like stale cigarettes and old cleaning chemicals. The night clerk, a man who looked like he had seen too much and cared too little, didn't even look up from his phone. I leaned against the counter, putting on my best drunk businessman act, and told him I was Mr. Miller, staying in room 214, and that my wife had the key, but I'd locked myself out after stepping out to smoke. I slid a crisp $100 bill across the scratched plastic counter. Since I knew her work alias, which she'd stupidly used for the booking, he didn't even blink. He swiped a fresh plastic key and handed it to me. Have a good night, Mr. Miller. If only he knew. I walked toward room 214. The walkway was cracked and the air was thick with humidity. With every step I took, my reality was fracturing. I was no longer the successful, happily married businessman. I was a cuckold holding a stolen key, walking toward the murder scene of my own life. When I got to the door, I didn't even have to use the key yet. I could hear them laughing through the thin, peeling wood. I heard the distinct hollow clink of glass against glass. They were toasting their own cleverness. I took a deep, shuddering breath. I pulled out my phone and did something I had planned from the moment I got in the trunk. I opened Facebook and started a live stream to a private group containing her parents, her brother, my sister, and about 30 of our closest perfect friends. The caption I typed with shaking fingers read, "The real Sarah lived from room 214. I took another breath, slid the key card into the slot, waited for the green light, and then I didn't just open the door, I kicked it hard. The frame splintered. The door flew open, slamming against the interior wall with a sound like a gunshot. The room was worse inside than outside. But I wasn't looking at the paint. I was looking at the bed. Sarah was sitting on the edge of the mattress, already half undressed, laughing as she held up a champagne flute. The man stood over her, popping the cork on a second bottle. He turned around, his smug grin freezing into a mask of pure terror. It was Dave. Of course it was Dave, my oldest friend, my college roommate, and the man I had made a junior partner in my architectural firm just last year. Dave, who I had loaned money to when his gambling debt got out of control. Dave, who had sat at my dinner table just last week and told me how much he admired my marriage. "Surprise? You backstabbing son of a bitch!" I roared. The sound didn't even feel like it came from me. It felt like it ripped out of a monster that had replaced my soul. Sarah didn't scream. She let out a choked, wet gasp, scrambling to pull the bed sheets over her body, dropping her champagne glass in the process. It shattered on the filthy carpet, splashing dark liquid everywhere. Dave just stood there, his face completely drained of color, clutching the champagne bottle like a weapon he was too terrified to use. Mark, what are you doing here? You're in Chicago," Sarah stammered, her voice trembling so hard it was almost unrecognizable. "Oh, don't mind me," I said, walking further into the room, making sure the camera on my phone was pointed directly at them, catching every humiliating detail. I decided to cut my trip short. "It seems I arrived just in time for the main event. Say hello to your mother, Sarah. She's watching right now. "Hi, Mrs. Gable. Isn't your daughter a sight? And Dave, look at you, my junior partner. Is this what you meant when you said you wanted to study my workflow?" The silence that followed was heavy, wet, and suffocating, broken only by Sarah's frantic, ugly sobbing and the sounds of notifications pinging on her phone as her family began to react in the Facebook group. Dave finally found his voice, but it was weak. "Mark, listen, we can talk about this." "Talk?" I laughed, and it was a sound of pure madness. "Dave, there is nothing to talk about. While I was tracking your phone's GPS to this motel, I also spent the drive looking through the company's recent consulting fees you've been approving. You thought I was stupid. I was already auditing you. I just found the 20,000 you embezzled to buy that diamond bracelet for her and the 5 grand you used to rent this disgusting love nest for the last 3 months. As of this exact second, you're not only fired, you're being sued for every penny you possess, and I'm calling the police to report the embezzlement as soon as I finish this live stream. I'm going to make sure your only clients for the next 10 years are guys named Tiny in a state penitentiary." I turned to Sarah, who was curled in a ball on the bed, shaking violently. The lingerie she had been so excited about now just looked pathetic. "And you," I said, my voice dropping to a low, lethal whisper that was more terrifying than my screaming. "You're going to be famous, Sarah. Enjoy your 5 minutes of internet celebrity. By the time you get back to the house, the locks will be changed. All your designer trash is already sitting in industrial garbage bags on the curb, and I hope you saved the receipt for that bracelet, because my lawyer is going to need it during the asset division when I sue you for divorce on the grounds of adultery and fraud. You wanted a ghost, Sarah. Congratulations, I'm done." I didn't stay to hear her beg. I didn't stay to watch them try to piece their shattered lives back together. I walked out of that room into the sticky night air and drove away in a rental car I'd parked nearby, leaving my own SUV behind. Since the title was in my name and Sarah's, I'd already reported it stolen via my phone app, knowing police would eventually find it outside that specific motel room. I'd already had a locksmith booked for a midnight emergency at my home address. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my phone was having a meltdown. 60 missed calls from her mother, 50 from her father, 100 messages from mutual friends ranging from "Are you okay?" to "I can't believe you did that." But I was fine. I was more than fine. I was the clearest I had been in 6 months. I walked inside my empty, beautiful house, poured myself a drink, the good scotch I'd been saving for our anniversary, and sat in the dark, watching the bags of her clothes getting soaked by the sprinklers on the front lawn. They thought they were the main characters in a romantic drama, but they forgot one very important detail. I'm the one who writes the goddamn checks. I'm the one who owns the house, and in the end, I'm the one who gets the final cut.